Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. Thank you guys so much for joining me. You know I am. You know what I'm here to do. I'm here to rock. That's right. Live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver adjacent studios. Okay. Please go to SamTripoli.gold. Use the promo code Tinfoil and join the Wolf Pack. Get in the precious metals games as little as $50 a month. You can have precious metals sent right to your house, and we appreciate them for sponsoring the show. Hey, I decided to do an emergency podcast with all the stuff going on with Trump, all the stuff going on with Alex Jones, what's just going on in the world. I wanted to talk to Adam Green today and get his opinions of the world, the state of the world, what people are talking about, all that stuff. Now, Adam Green, as you know, has very strong opinions on a lot of stuff. And I enjoyed our conversation. I thought it was a great conversation. I think he's well read and he comes with a lot of receipts. So I respect that. You know, he has certain opinions on Jesus. I am a believer and follower of Jesus in my heart, God above all. And so I don't necessarily agree with that stuff, but I feel like I need to have everybody on the show to give their side of the discussion. Adam, you know, says he believes in a God. He doesn't understand it. That's his thing. And I'm not here to tell him what to believe and what not to believe. I just want to hear Adam's take on it. So I hope you guys can enjoy this. If that is a subject you don't want to hear somebody talk about, I understand, respect that. This might not be the episode for you. So please enjoy this. A wonderful episode. It was a deep dive with Adam Green into the world of, that's my daughter behind me, into the Abrahamic Apocalyptic Prophecies. Enjoy the show. Thank you for your support.
Drink from the fountain.
All right, let's get into it. Very excited to have him back. It's been a while. I was looking back at his last episode. I think it was 2020 last time he was on. So very excited to have him back, and we'll get into everything. Please welcome back to the show, Adam Green. How are you, Adam?
I'm doing great. Good to be here with you, Sam.
It's been a while, buddy. Been a while. For those who may not be familiar with you, Adam, and your last appearance, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Sure. Under the moniker No More News, I've been online making videos mostly about religion and politics, Zionism, since 2014. It's almost going to be 10 years now. I do weekly daily news streams of current events. I do interviews, debates, clip compilations of rabbis and Christians, usually, that sort of thing.
So, you know, when we last had you on, it was a deep dive into it. I feel like the landscape was much different than it is now. And you were just on the Union of the Unwanted like a couple months ago. And I'd ask you there if you felt that, you know, you kind of vindicated at this point, because a lot of the stuff that you've been talking about and ran off of certain platforms, or banned, maybe that's a better term than ran off. But, you know, that now you're kind of like, it seems like more and more people are discussing what you've been discussing for a very long time. How does that make you feel at this moment?
It makes me feel good. It's like a different world, kind of. It almost reminds me of, like, in California back when marijuana was illegal. It was just like a different world. And then, like, the laws change, and then now it's just everywhere. And if you're over 21, you can just go into a shop and buy it. It's almost like it's that acceptable and normalized now to talk about Israel, to talk about Zionist power in America. And it is like vindicating a lot of things. Like people are saying like, oh, I thought this third temple stuff and this eschatology and these end times fanatics, I thought they were just fringe, but people are really realizing how mainstream they are, how much influence they have. Like all the top Republicans are all like tied in with John Hagee, the Christians United for Israel. But another part that's vindicating, that's also frustrating, is this big awakening that's happening online, mostly because Elon bought X and is allowing people to come back and is allowing more free speech there. It's being all herded into and filtered into the Abrahamic paradigm. So we are seeing a rise in like awareness about Zionist power, but so much of it is being controlled like on the other side of the dialectic in this Judeo dichotomy, where it's like it's largely Christians and Muslims who have this new alliance that are like, opposing Zionism in Israel. But I see that still as like that was part of the prediction, actually, that there would be an alliance, that Christianity and Islam are almost monopolizing the opposition to Judaism and Zionism in Israel. And if that's the case, it's keeping it like on the Judeo plantation in a way, the Judeo reservation.
I understand what you're saying. And if you had it your way, what would actually be happening?
The central grievance wouldn't be you killed God. Like that's what you see so much of. They killed Jesus. They hate Jesus. They hate their Messiah. I see that as a contrived talking point that was like given to us. Like, so what would I like to see? I'd like to see secular criticisms of their religious supremacy and bigotry, not Christians being supremacists and bigots saying they're bad because they don't believe who we think is the Messiah. So criticize them for their religion and their actions, not because they don't follow your religion and who you think the Messiah is.
So when you see videos of Zionists kind of like kicking the shit out of Orthodox Jews, does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, a lot of people have a misconception about that. A lot of people are under the impression that Orthodox Jews are anti-Zionist, that they're Torah only and like don't read the Talmud. The Orthodox Jews, the Hasidic Jews, Nutra Karta, that are anti-Zionist, they say they're anti-Zionist. They're really just like anti-modern day state of Israel, but they're still Zionist. And anybody that believes in the God of Zion, I classify as a Zionist. So they still believe that their Messiah is going to come and their prophecies are going to be fulfilled and there will be a state of Israel eventually, but they just think that the Messiah has to come first. So it's like out of order, that they say. But it's important to know that they're a very fringe vocal minority, and most Orthodox Hasidics are like some of the most supremacist and extreme and anti-Palestine and wanting to take out Gaza and calling them Amalek. So a lot of people are confused, thinking that they're anti, but really most ultra-Orthodox are some of the most hardcore Zionists.
So when you see what's happening in Palestine, and you know, obviously you've stated that you're not really into the whole Abrahamic paradigm. What is your take on that?
My take is that Israel wants to take Gaza. Many of the leaders in Israel are saying, turn it to a parking lot, turn it to glass. They want to build beachside condos. It's theirs and God gave it to them, and they're Amalek and they have to wipe them away and all this type of stuff. They say there's no innocence there. You know, they're not human. They're like animals. That's that sort of thing. So they want to take the land. And also a huge part of Zionist end times prophecy is something called Edom is destroyed. And I don't know if you've seen the compilations. My pinned tweet has, I think, 1.5 million views. And it's a 10-minute compilation of rabbis talking about the prophesied destruction of Edom, which they interpret as the West, America, Europe, the New Rome, the Christian countries. So their end times prophecy, one of the most important ones, is Edom has to be destroyed. And they interpret Edom as Rome, as the Roman Empire. And that became the Holy Roman Empire and then morphed into Western civilization. So they believe they're in the fourth exile, the greatest exile of Edom under the fourth kingdom. And basically, Another thing I'm very vindicated about is the Gog and Magog war, the end times Armageddon war that everybody's been talking about, the apocalyptic wars. So right now, how we have Iran, Russia, and China versus like America, Europe, and NATO, like that is the battle lines. That is the puzzle pieces in place for this end times war. The Kabbalah rabbis for hundreds, if not 1,000 years, have been saying Iran, Russia is Gog that's going to go against Edom. And I think part of them taking out Gaza, they're going to know that this is going to inflame the Muslim world. And they're basically going to get us sucked into something where we're going to have to go to war with Iran, and that'll escalate with Russia. So that's why they're so brazen, and they're saying, they'll do it alone. They don't care if the whole world's against them. And this is also why you see the narrative so much that America has betrayed Israel, and Biden funded $6 billion to Iran, and Biden's tying Netanyahu's hands, and now he's not sending the weapons anymore. So we're having a whole narrative that America is turning on Israel, that we're anti-Semitic, we're white supremacists, a Christian anti-Semitic country. And that's the narrative before the collapse. And haven't you been seeing everywhere, like framing America as the Roman Empire and that we're about to collapse?
Yes.
It's everywhere. It's like a huge meme, right? That is the Kabbalistic end times plan, is that we're destroyed according to the prophecies in this big war with the East versus the West. In Kabbalah, they call it Ishmael versus Esau. So it's Islam versus Christianity. And what a coincidence that the two offshoots of Judaism are the two most dominant religions in the world the last 1,700 years. And then there's an end times plan where they all have prophecies that where they're going to go to war with one another. And we're like right there. I think I've been saying since Trump lost that he's going to get back in with Kushner, and he's already saying Nikki Haley and Pompeo and all of the same Zionists, the who's who of Zionists.
To me, so crazy, because they're so toxic, those two. And that's a thing I want to get. There's a lot that I want to get into with you today. And I'm really into this conversation. I do have, people in my life who are very Christian. I'm Christian. I know you have. At the end, we'll get into some of the stuff you want to talk about. That you asked me you wanted to talk about, and I think I should be open-minded to all of it.
If you like conspiracies, this is the greatest conspiracy, that open in our face conspiracy everywhere. Yeah.
So, my friend Tony, a long time ago, good friend of mine, talked about this before. I talked about some of my other podcasts and ended up not making it a cut, but for years would always tell me all these things that are about to happen through the Bible. Right. And he would tell me, he told me about, I remember in the the mid 90s, his group was telling me about towers are going to come down. And then he told me about the EU before the EU formed. And he's been telling me this stuff about lost tribes of Israel versus the pagans, which fits into kind of what you've been talking about right now. But he told me that from a Christian perspective. And, so as I watch this thing begin to happen, and with everybody starting to call Israel along the lines of what you were talking about, he told me that, that what will eventually happen is that the EU will step in and regulate Gaza. That will be it. And it will eventually get to the point, whether it's in our lifetime or not, that it will get to the point where it will be pagans versus lost tribes of Israel, and the lost tribes of Israel will be the UK, England, America, and Israel versus the pagans, which are a lot of the guys you just talked about. He also included Germany in with that group, that the Germans, and that's always really aligned with me with this kind of thing that last time we talked about, and I got a little freaked out on the internet because people were associating me with something that you had said, and at the time I wasn't understanding it. So, this is a big part of, why we're having this conversation right now. Mm-hmm. And I think you called me faggot a couple times on the internet about things I
would never call you that word.
You called me something. And I'm not
critical of the what's the guy's name? Boncini. What's the guy that blames
Santos Bonacci?
Santos Bonacci. Yeah. I'm critical of that worldview.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't care. So I've been reading this book, and
I haven't read that one.
It's a great book. I mean, you probably know everything anyways that's in it, but it has all the receipts. And of course, people are like, "Oh, it's been debunked," and stuff like that. And it fits into this thing that fits into what Tony had told me a long time ago. And that is that in my heart of hearts, I really do believe that the Nazis were the Bolsheviks of Germany, and that they were brought in to destroy it from the inside, kind of like what we're seeing right now in America with this social justice warrior progressive movement that is kind of trying to destroy all of our institutions and our history and flip everything. So when people see like a black mermaid, they they're like, "Oh, dude, it's just a fictional character." And I go, "Yeah, by itself it's really nothing, but when you put it all together, it's really about just completely and utterly changing all the data you have so you can't pass it on to your children." And what happens is your children and your grandchildren start at zero, which is so hard to build anything in life when you have nothing to start, no starting point. So it's a very dangerous conversation, but I remember when they were going off kind of on your episode that you did about how we were saying that Hitler was a Zionist and a big part of Israel, which at that time was a crazy thing to say, like in probably every world but your world, right?
I was just talking about this book, basically written by Edwin Black, who's Jewish, The Transfer Agreement. And InfoWars just did a post about this, the relationship that they had and how it benefited them. What's that one?
Well, again, this is the same book that I just showed you, but the
Okay.
reason I bring this up is because when you study Hitler and his relationship with America during this time, we're both holding up books here.
I know. This is for the screenshot.
is when you study it, it's like FDR's good friends was best friends, was not best friends, but FDR's very close, if not best friend, was very tight with Hitler. And you study like all the U.S. corporations that helped not only build up the German military industrial complex, but were like basically like sugar daddying Hitler. They were people who were like the heads of the Federal Reserve of New York. It was like totally right there. So you start to study this, you start to go, what's at work here through this kind of, what was the group, the agreement, the Havana Agreement or something like that?
Yeah, that's the book I was just holding up, The Transfer Agreement.
Yes.
Dramatic story of the pact between the Third Reich and Jewish Palestine.
Yes. And, how we start to see that, they made deals with Zionists to get them to Israel if they bought German goods and stuff like that. But there was the pact between them and the Nazis. And
it's real important if you read Herzl's writing, who is the modern day.
Can you get into Herzl
Zionism
for a little while so people
Sure.
people can understand exactly what you're talking about?
Yeah, Herzl's one of the founding fathers of like modern Zionism, and he would write how they would use anti-Semitism to help create the state of Israel, and how because Europe is like inherently anti-Semitic, largely because of Christianity, that they could never live in those countries, that they needed to have their own nation, and that they would use the anti-Semitism to justify it and to get it, because so that he wrote that decades before it actually planned out and happened. But something's really important too. I was talking about Edom. In the Talmud, you go to Sefaria website, like the official Talmudic database, and it says Germany was Edom. I've got clips of rabbis saying that before Germany existed, when it was just 300 tribes or whatever, that they were calling them Germania of Edom. And
holy shit.
So here's John Hagee's book, and John Hagee is America's pastor. He's the most influential pastor in America with all of his high-level political connections with Kufi. And his book is Earth's Last Empire, and it's got the eagle there representing the eagle of Edom. So the Roman Empire had eagle as a symbol. The Russians,
we have eagle. Yeah,
we had it. The Russians, Germany had the eagle, and now America has the eagle, and that represents Esau and Edom. And when he says Earth's Last Empire, he means Kabbalistically the American Empire, Edom, is going to be destroyed. The final Game of Thrones, and that's what That's what the agenda is. That's what they want. And this isn't God's plan, supernatural hand carrying this out. This is a script. This is a blueprint that through their belief and following it and trying to hasten these things, and with the Christians and the Muslims also participating and playing their role as Esau and Ishmael, and by them believing in their end times prophecies that all converge. Both Islam and Christianity believe that Jesus is a Messiah that's going to return to defeat the Antichrist. And if that's what you believe, that means predictive programming when the Antichrist comes, so it's all predicated on the Judaist end times prophecies, returning to the land of Israel, rebuilding their temple, anointing a Messiah, and having worldwide domination, the mark of the beast, basically. So all of that has to happen for Christian and Muslim prophecies to be fulfilled. So in a way, it's like they don't want it to happen, but it's God's plan and it has to happen. And it must unfold at some point. So in a way, they do want it to happen because Jesus will never return if it doesn't.
Well, that is the big thing going on right now with Netanyahu, and like this kind of belief that he was put in place to push this end times prophecy together, and he seems to be like trying to okay, let's let's kick this into gear. It's not happening quick enough, and this old guard seems to be passing, and they're like, hey dude, like I don't got a lot of these days left. When's this thing? I've dedicated my whole life to this. When is this thing gonna happen? And it seems to be like, let's jack it up right now.
You're talking about his famous clip of him meeting the Rebbe, the Chabad Lubavitch Rebbe. He goes, do more to hasten the Messiah.
Yeah. That seems to be completely psychotic to me. So, I these again are, even though today there are people that will hear this and automatically yell anti-Semitism about it, which is not true at all. I don't, me personally, my girlfriend's Jewish. I love her family, all that stuff. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just, when you have people conspiring to make certain things happen, and I just see people getting slaughtered, and the people who were like just kowtowing to George Floyd and being like, oh my God, we gotta oh my God, how can we be this? What happened to our humanity? And then they're just turning around and just completely, allowing children to get beheaded and acting like it's a proper response to October 7th,
defending themselves. They're slaughtering Palestinian children and acting like it's a second Holocaust, that they're being holocausted. And isn't that the narrative everywhere, that it
100%.
could happen here? That's Greenblatt's book. They're calling America the Fourth Reich. They're talking, the rise in Christian nationalism and anti-Semitism on the college campuses. This is the narrative that we saw also before in Germany, before they were destroyed. It's the template of the Purim story, where Haman and the king of Persia were going to kill all of the ancient Hebrews or Israelites. I don't know how you would classify them in that story. And then Mordecai and Esther, they did something with the king, and then they were able to win and then slaughter the Persians. So it's the same idea. And to take it back to Netanyahu and the Rebbe, when he first got into power, he'd go visit the Rebbe, like all the political leaders in Israel do. But Netanyahu was also crowned. People can Google Netanyahu crowned by a rabbi. He was a Chabad rabbi. Australian diamond tycoon helped Netanyahu get into power. And just recently, Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel, the one that got busted with Epstein and was right there with Netanyahu, creating the narrative of 9/11. Ehud Barak, just a couple of weeks ago, said in an interview that Netanyahu is controlled and what was the word? Slave. He's a slave to the radical rabbis that want to ignite the Middle East and usher in the Messiah. Even the former prime minister of Israel, who's known Netanyahu for decades, says this is who Netanyahu's in with. And then Netanyahu got out of power. He's facing all this criminal stuff. He gets back into power, most extreme Zionist cabinet he's ever had. And the Sanhedrin minted a coin. They did the Third Temple coin with Trump and King Cyrus. And then they also did a coin called the Sons of Light and the Sons of Darkness coin with Trump and Netanyahu on it in 2020. As soon as October 6th happened, Netanyahu and the head spokesperson of the IDF started calling this the War of Sons of Light versus the Sons of Darkness, which is related to Gog and Magog in the end times. So it's like Netanyahu and Trump, Kushner right there, all the puzzle pieces in place. I think they're going to finish Gaza, take Gaza, and then following the end times Antichrist script, they're going to have Trump and Kushner have a peace deal, a covenant with West Bank to make up for what happened in Gaza. And then, because, Kushner, it's like deal of the century. Kushner's the genius that's going to make peace in the Middle East. Trump and Kushner have been hyping that up so much that I see it as like foreshadowing, and like that's the direction when he gets back in. The only thing that Israel can do to save face, Trump was just at the UFC fight last night, and Khabib, the Muslim from Russia, says, when you get in, you got to stop the end in war in Palestine. He says, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Hey, guys, real quick, I want to tell you about our boy James McMahon and Copy My Crypto. Listen, guys, has it pissed you off to watch crypto fly up in prices for a decade and you still have done nothing about it? It makes sense. Crypto's complicated and really boring. Well, here's the good news. You don't need to know a thing about crypto to make money like so many have. The CopyMyCrypto.com membership site shows you the exact cryptos that YouTuber James McMahon personally owns, which means you just got to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. Just simply copy along. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about James. He runs the Crypto with James YouTube channel, which has over 54,000 subscribers. In the summer of 2020, he told his viewers to buy 26 cryptos. Had you put $100 into each, it went on to be well worth $123,000. Of the 26 cryptos, his top pick of the year, the one he singled out called Phantom, went up 692 times from when he said to buy it, okay? That one call alone has retired a number of people, including guys in the 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go to YouTube and verify for yourself. So if you'd like to join the 2,800 members who have copied James, then pause what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I said, but my viewers will get a full access for just $1. Yes, you've missed out on Bitcoin, but there's over 2 million other cryptos. Do you really think you've missed out on all of it? Guys, don't waste your time. Go to the site and read it. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/TFH. Guys, it's ended money worries for so many. It may just do the same for you. Copymycrypto.com/TFH.
So I think they're going to win.
You think Trump's going to win? Or Israel's going to win? Is that
I'm saying Trump's going to win?
Okay.
Get back in with Kushner. All these end times Christian Zionists like Pompeo, Nikki Haley, Lindsey Graham, Ron DeSantis, all of them basically, and they're gonna have this. They're gonna hype this big peace deal. It's gonna collapse. Something's gonna go wrong, and then there's gonna be the Gog and Magog war. That's what I think in the next few years is gonna happen. The Sons of Light and Sons of Darkness war. The same Temple Institute also made the coin of Trump in the Abraham Accords as well. And on the coin, the Sons of Light and Sons of Darkness is a book, a scroll found in Qumran Dead Sea Scrolls. And they have a museum in Israel with the light and dark symbolism is in the architecture. And it's Kabbalistic. The light is the divine sparks of light of the Jewish souls. And the darkness is the shattered vessels of the Kelipah, which represents the souls of the Gentiles who come from the Sitra Akra, the evil other side, the darkness. Edom and Esau in the west is the dark, and Jerusalem is the light. In the Talmud, it says, but that before Jerusalem can rise up and have their messianic age, Rome or Edom has to fall. The two nations cannot coexist. It's this dualism of the twins of Jacob and Esau, representing Christianity and Judaism, or Rome and Jerusalem, and that's the dialectic.
So let me ask you something. So Trump in this equation represents the darkness, the Messiah of Edom. Yes. So, and when do you think they did? Like, and I don't know if you have the answer to this, but at what point did they decide he was the guy who's going to play that role?
It seems like he's been groomed for decades. He was getting top Kabbalistic Tree of Life awards in the early 80s. I feel like it might have even been with his dad before him. His dad was close friends with Netanyahu in the 80s. His dad was investing in Israeli bonds very early on in Israel's history. He was donating land to build Chabad synagogues as well. But it's even weirder. Trump is born. You can look this up, guys. Trump is born on a solar eclipse. And he's been talking about peace and all of this weird predictive programming stuff with Trump for a long time. So I think, have you seen the new Dune? Dune 1 and 2?
No, that's the next thing I'm going to watch. I'm going to
gotta watch Dune
tonight.
Dude.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
It's one movie everyone's like, I wish I would have seen it in the movie theater. I have a big TV, so I'm going to be able to watch, but I wish I would have saw it in the movie theater. But yeah, everyone says it's like a masterpiece.
Dude, it's so good. It's like a no more news movie because it's not really a spoiler alert. It's in the first movie and throughout the second. But the idea is that there's this cult of women that are pulling the strings behind the empire, and they're planting messianic prophecies on different planets to control people and to prime them and condition them to accept a leader or wait for a leader. So the whole movie, the plot is all about fake messianic prophecies to control people. It's right up my alley. But also they have this idea where there's bloodlines and they have different candidates for certain messianic roles. So it's like, I think maybe Trump wasn't the only one, but he was one of the people that they were grooming. And he's obviously been the one that's,
stuck.
Have you ever seen somebody more famous than Trump? He's the most hated and the most loved person in the world. It's so weird. He's like an evil, sinful guy, but the more that they come after him, the more support and love he gets. There's like a messianic cult vibe around Trump with the QAnon people and the MAGA prophets all over the internet. It really is like a cult-like phenomenon. The rabbis and the Christian Zionists have been calling him like a messianic leader, the new King David, the Cyrus, all of these messianic archetypes into Trump.
It is of my belief October 7th was a false flag event to bring on a lot of the stuff that we're seeing right now. Is that your belief? And there's this whole narrative before you answer that a lot of this kicks off, what we're being told is because the red heifers are coming. Mm-hmm. Fat redheads are headed to Israel. Where are the fat redheads right now? Are they still alive? Have they been? Have we fulfilled some prophecies here? Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
They have to wait until the cows are 3 years old, and they have to be without blemish. So every single hair has to be red, no birthmarks or anything. There's Christians in Texas that are trying to selectively breed these red heifers and shipped a few of them to Israel.
Dude, unbelievable.
It's so wacky. And why before they can rebuild the temple, they believe they have to purify the priests and purify the land by burning the red heifers to ashes, mixing it with a few other ingredients, and then sprinkling it around so it's purified that they can rebuild the temple. And October 7th being a setup, I mean, it's well known now that Israel helped start Hamas, that Netanyahu strategy for years was to continue propping up Hamas, to ruin any chances of a two-state solution, to have this terroristic threat that justifies, the ongoing occupation. But here's listen to this. This is a hot scoop. I covered this right after it happened too. And then the rabbis started doing their videos confirming with what I said. October 7th was the morning after the Jewish holiday Sukkot, which is a 7-day holiday where in the ancient times they would sacrifice 70 bulls on the temple. And the 70 bulls represent the 70 nations, so all of the non-Jewish world. And in Gog and Magog, they believe it's 35 and 35. Esau and Ishmael, 35 nations going to war with one another. And the gematria, the numerology of Gog and Magog also equals Sukkot as well. So having that happen the morning after that holiday that's so symbolic for the end times war. Also, another connection is I've got clip after clip of rabbis saying that 9/11 was predicted in the Zohar. And they cite, have you heard that one before?
No.
Yeah,
I know that, like I said, like earlier, that like in the mid 90s, early to mid 90s, I met with like my buddy who got very deep is still deep into Christianity, and his church had a band, and they were singing about the towers falling in the mid 90s.
Really?
Yeah, it was like
Well,
crazy to watch.
Trump basically predicted a big bin Laden attack. Netanyahu also predicted it and like threatened it. And I've got clips of rabbis claiming top Hasidic rabbis from Israel came and a few weeks before 9/11 said, say bye-bye to those buildings. Like that's a wild thing to lie about if he's making it up. But it is in the Zohar, Chabad's website, chabad.org. Google it, 9/11 Zohar. They have a whole article about how, the Zohar predicted that this would happen and that this would start the downfall of Edom. What the Zohar says is that 2 big buildings in the biggest city of Edom or America, New York, will be destroyed, will collapse. And then a great hall also. So like the Pentagon. And this will be the start of the third Gog and Magog, the third world war of Esau versus Ishmael, the clash of civilizations of Christianity and Islam.
So when you get into like all the Trump stuff, do you like this trial, the many trials? Is it of your belief this is all a play? This is pro wrestling theater. I mean, there's a lot of black pill people that are into that. This is all theater to corral everybody into Trump. Now we're seeing that New York Democrats are now all just fleeing the Democrats, running. They're not even saying Republicans. They're running to Trump. So it is because everyone's like, what? I keep going. I just did Jesse Lee Peterson's show. I would love to see you on. That would be a crazy thing. But, I brought up false flags on October 7th. This conversation kind of confirms what I've felt the whole time. But he's the Great White Hope, and I'm like, well, okay, we got the play, and then what is the deeper 5D chess or whatever they want to say about that? Is it your belief to corral them more into Trump?
Well, I don't know that it's everybody's belief. There's sincere hatred for Trump and Republicans on the left. There's no doubting that. But is the left so stupid? Even the highest levels of the left wing, are they so stupid that they didn't realize that going after Trump like this would consolidate his power and make him get more support? Like, did they not see that he would raise $50 million the day after he got charged for this? And this would solidify his position, because the more they go after him, the more support he gets. And they have to know this.
It's so weird to me. And, I have friends of mine on the internet who are some of the smartest. Let me just put this. They are some of the most intelligent people I know. I don't know how smart they are based on their tweets, but they just keep teeing off on this whole thing, and they're falling for this thing over and over and over again. And I just go, is it just conformity? Is it just that these people must conform to the narrative in order to still have standing with the powers that be on their side of the party, that they have to say ridiculously stupid shit? I listen to me, man. I don't know how people can think that paying off an adult film star is somehow 34 felonies worth of a trial, when every single one of their heroes has done the exact same thing. I mean, Kennedy couldn't stop banging everything that moved. Clinton couldn't stop banging. I mean, they were both like Andy Dick. They were tweakers that would just bang anything that was in their way. I don't understand how people can, it's this narrative.
Biden saying that nobody's above the law when his son has gotten away with what he's got. He has to know that this is going to outrage everybody. It's like Biden appears so incompetent, so corrupt. This 4 years has just made everybody so desperate for a savior, right? It's like you couldn't write this script to have Trump. It's so predictable. And now everybody's just flocking right to Trump. The more they attack him, the more support he gets. The only thing that could get all of these anti-Zionists to back Trump is exactly what happened. I'm seeing huge anti-Zionists like Fuentes or Ryan Dawson now saying, we got to support Trump because this happened. It's just,
what's your take on Fuentes?
My take on Fuentes is that he's playing the Esau boogeyman of America. He's playing the villain role by having Christian anti-Semitism be central to his message. So he's playing the Esau, Edom, and Christian anti-Semite boogeyman, which literally helps them. It's the worst type of criticism. If your main issue is they don't like Jesus, like you've already lost the plot.
Interesting, dude, because it just seems like he's, I don't know if they bust him watching trans porn, but it's just like this weird, like, it's just very weird to me that I see him everywhere. I don't see you getting the same kind of kind of respect, which is, I'm saying that out of respect to you, that you've been doing that much longer, and this kid has come out of nowhere and he's
Well,
everywhere.
to be honest, to correct you, I started getting into Zionism in about like 2015, so it's been almost 10 years. But I'm pretty sure he was critical of Zionist power like 2015, 16 as well. So we've been around about since the same time.
But don't you feel like he? And listen, I'm hearing your criticism of him. I think it's interesting. It is hard for my mind to I both accept it and reject that everybody is a LARP. It seems so hard to pull off, but then I start to realize that this is what they've been doing forever. Like all of our favorite rappers are homo thugs, right? Like, so it's like, to me, it seems hard to believe that, but I mean, I'm open.
Well, I'm not saying that he's a LARP or he's like has Jewish handlers, but what he is he's controlled like theologically in a way. And I'm not picking on him. It's all Christian anti-Semitism.
I think he's a very smart man.
He's definitely very smart, which is why I don't see how you could be so smart and think that blaming them for killing God when Christianity wouldn't exist. Christians are only saved because they're washed in the blood, and it's the prophecies. It's God's plan. It's Jesus's plan that be rejected by the Jews in the Bible. So they're just following God's plan. And Paul, the Apostle Paul, even says like salvation was brought to the Gentiles because of their transgression. So being mad at them for following God's plan of rejecting the Messiah, and I think Jesus is a myth and the whole thing's mystical, Kabbalistic, based on scripture. But that's what I'm saying. Blaming them. Most people think that Christians crying about "you killed God" are insane and deranged, and it makes them have a lot of sympathy and victim status for the Jews, but by being persecuted by these mean Christians who hate them for a stupid reason. Like that's the dichotomy of Christianity and Judaism that I see playing out, and it's Kabbalistic. The rabbis all say it's a law of nature. Esau hates Jacob, so Christianity hates Judaism.
So weird to me. It's just so weird to me, and like these are just dangerous conversations to the normal person. There's no perspective in which they can come from. But to me, it's just like, if you can't have these discussions, you're never going to solve the problem. And if you don't know who is coming after you, you can't solve the problem. And, when I want to get back into a little bit of Zionism, because, you have all these kind of like mission statements of Zionism, and then what they'll do to achieve those goals. And some of the stuff is, and gets into some dangerous conversation, at least from my perspective, is, the sacrificing of Orthodox Jews over like Zionist Jews. And I know you don't think there's a big difference between that, but, the willingness to sacrifice Jews to attain this kind of whatever their goals are at that moment is a real thing. And that's why it's like, I don't think it's just like Jews, and
it's biblical too. The idea of like 2/3 or them being persecuted and refined through the fire while they're in exile. These are biblical ideas. And there is the idea. So here's the story of Jacob and Esau. I keep going back to that, right? There's a biblical story where Jacob goes to see Esau, his brother who hates them because he stole his birthright, and he separates half of his family to go somewhere else so that if they try to go to war against them, some will still survive. And there's this idea, Herzl also talked about it, that even if you cut off a few branches, the root will regrow and it'll just become stronger. So the idea of sacrificing some of them definitely is in the cards.
So you've brought up Christian nationalists a lot. I'm going to do an episode, Christian Zionists, excuse me. I'm going to do an episode on the what is the Bible that put Christian Schofield Bible? Do you what are your thoughts on the Schofield Bible? Can you give us a little history on it and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's true. It was funded by Jewish millionaires or billionaires at the time that helped promote that. But my big take on the Schofield Bible is that the number one religion in America is evangelical Christianity. So Zionist Christians, by far the most popular religion. And what people do is they'll say they're not real Christians. They want to blame all of these kosher Christians on Schofield, and they go, oh, he changed it. It's translation. It's the same Bible. It's the same verses. Like if all of the Old Testament and the New Testament is about the chosen people, and then they did this, and this is their promised land, and then, don't blame Schofield 100 years ago if people are confused and think that Jews are chosen by God and that they have a holy land and they're meant to return there. That's like what the whole Bible's about. So people like to scapegoat and blame Schofield and Christian Zionism and say they're not real Christians. It's just a modern heresy, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't change the translations. It's just like a couple footnotes that are different. And it was like a change in doctrine where it became a lot more pro-Israel. But it's just like I say all Christians are Zionist. And it's not that I have a perfect meme. It's not that Judaists hijack Christianity. They started Christianity. That was the great replacement. That the whole goal of Judaism is having all the nations in the world recognize the God of Israel as the one true God and his chosen people. So get rid of their pagan idol worship and worship the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham. That's the ultimate goal.
What's your thoughts on all the pagans and what they call the little g gods and all that stuff? Like, I don't know where like Aleister Crowley fits into your view of the world. And, when we do 9/11, which we all know there was many more countries than 19 hijackers from Saudi Arabia. There was a lot more involved with that. But when we look into the like numerology of 9/11, the 7/7s, the 11s, the all that stuff, 93, which is a big Thelema number. What are your thoughts on that? Is paganism, the little G gods, is that any does that come on your radar at all?
I don't think they have anything to do with it. And I think they're all mythologies. I think Thor and Odin are just as real as Jesus and Yahweh. But you reminded me of something else, the 9/11 Zohar connection. It also has the three buildings and also the date. They give a date when this is going to happen on the Hebrew calendar. And it's like 1 or 2 days away from when 9/11 happened as well. So since you mentioned Gematria, I wanted to touch on that. But it's not just Christian Zionists. It's all Christians are Zionists. If you're a Christian, you worship the God of Zion. The Bible says he dwells in Zion. Zion is his holy mountain. Zion represents the hill in Jerusalem, basically. And the law will come forth from Zion. Zion is his holy mountain. So if you believe in the God of Zion, if you believe in the nation of priests and the prophecies, you are a Zionist by my definition, because you believe in the God of Zion. And this is what the whole thing is. The great conspiracy, the Jesus deception, is really just a prophecy deception. The nation of priests say that they're chosen by God. They have the prophecies of God. They can predict the future, like predictive programming. And if they can convince their goal to convince the world that they are the nation of priests, if they speak for God and everybody believes that, it's like they're made into God if they're the people of God. And it's been successful. It's worked. Nobody can deny that we're in the Judeo era. The last 1700 years has been dominated by the Torah and the Yahwehism and the messianic agenda.
So you've brought this up to me a lot on the thing, and I here's what I'm gonna say. I am a recovering drug and alcohol addict. I'm an alcoholic and drug addict reformed, and God has helped me get through this. Okay. And it makes me want to be a better person. You talk to people, there is historical evidence that a Yahweh existed. Okay. So when you say these things, are you saying that person never existed? And which is not my opinion, but I feel like I have to have everybody on to have this conversation.
Yeah.
You feel like that person never existed, or is it in the way that we see a manipulation of what happened to fulfill the prophecies?
You said, did Yahweh exist?
Oh,
I'd say definitely not. Jesus, the whole story of Jesus we know about from Paul's letters and then from the Gospels that came decades after the supposed events. And maybe we can do a whole show just about the Jesus prophecy deception. And I think you were talking about Fuentes earlier. Why has he, part of the reason is because he's a Christian, it's more acceptable. It's like the number one, religion in the world. So, I'm ostracized from the anti-Zionist communities because I don't believe in the prophecies and I don't worship the God of Israel. That's kind of how that's played out.
Do you have spirituality at all? Or are you just filled to the bone and it's all like we're just monkeys in shoes and it's all retarded?
I do think we're monkeys in shoes. Yes, I do believe in evolution. I don't believe in the Genesis creation myth or much of the myths of the Old Testament, like Noah's Ark and
do you
whatnot.
believe in things like karma? Do you find that if you do positive energy stuff, that good things happen? If you do negative energy stuff, negative things happen? Like willing stuff to happen, abundance versus scarcity, all that spirituality. Like, do you have any? Well, I think that, when
I use the secret to get where I'm at.
Well, I mean, my whole thing, Adam, is like, if we can sit there and go like there's a manipulation of this, and this, there could be a manipulation of what the secret's talk about, which is the belief in, that you can, if you take certain actions, certain things can happen. There could be a manipulation of that as well. But do you have any belief at your core? Is it just monkeys in shoes on a rock hurling through space and it means nothing and this place isn't special? There's other people there, aliens. Like, where do aliens come into Adam Green's world? Are they real? Are they demons? Are they angels? Are there anything, I mean, what's that thought?
A lot of questions there. I do believe there probably is life elsewhere in the universe. I do believe in evolution. We could have been planted, or it could have started here. It could have been seeded from somewhere else with mushroom spores or something. I don't know. Karma. I do believe karma is like a natural phenomenon. Not that like there's a hidden force that good things will happen to you, but if you're nice to other people, it's more likely other people will be nice to you, which is kind of a natural thing. I'm not atheist. I'm agnostic, anti-theist, anti-Yahwehist. So I'm against the Abrahamic religions, but I don't rule out the idea of a higher power or other dimensions or stuff like that. It's pretty miraculous. I don't think that life is for nothing. I think
reincarnation, any of that stuff.
I don't believe in reincarnation. No, that's a big Kabbalistic idea, though, is reincarnation.
Like the Book of Enoch, you're not into that at all.
The Book of Enoch is very important with regards to what it says about the Son of Man, because Jesus is identified as the Son of Man, and it's all about conquering the nations, getting the kings and queens to bow, having everybody worship the Son of Man. But to back up a little bit before we close out here, you asked about like, was there a man walking around? And no, I believe that the Jesus was invented, fabricated whole cloth from Scripture. So they have all these ancient scriptures. They believe that they're divinely inspired by God. They're prophetic. And they were quote mining and cherry picking all of these prophecies and then wrote a story fulfilling all of these prophecies. St. Paul, his letters are the earliest documents in the New Testament. He never knew Jesus, never met him in real life. He said explicitly that he only learned about Jesus from the scriptures, so reading the Old Testament, and from Revelations. So these are ancient mystics that are having visionary experiences, dreams.
Mysticism.
Excuse me?
Do you believe in mysticism?
I believe they believe in it.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were doing drugs, they were dreaming, they were doing whatever, having these mystical visions of ascension where they saw Jesus in the heavens in their dreams and connected it basically from, you can get the whole Jesus story just from relating a couple similar passages in Zechariah, Isaiah, Daniel, Wisdom of Solomon. And you can, from that, you can pull out all of like the core Jesus story. And I've gone through all the New Testament. You can see where like Jesus does this. Oh, that fulfills that prophecy. And then Jesus did this and rode in the donkey to fulfill what Zechariah said. And then they cast lots for his garments to fulfill Psalms 22. And all of the Jesus story, they go, it's a miracle because he fulfilled hundreds of things from the Old Testament. It's like, did he, or did they just have all these prophecies in front of them and some creative author wrote a story fulfilling all these things? And that's what I think happened. So it's a prophecy deception, convincing people that they have magical powers, that they were chosen by God because these prophecies were fulfilled. But it's not hard to make up a new story fulfilling all of these things. That's the simple explanation for it. And the fact that nobody outside of the Bible wrote about Jesus or any of these miraculous events until 70, 80 years later is another sign that it didn't happen and it's ahistorical. So
when you get into like Buddhism or Hinduism and all that stuff, which is very like goes way back, is that anything?
I haven't gotten into that, but it's something. It's their cultural myths. It's their foundational myths. I don't think they're real, but I haven't studied those deeply, and I don't see how it doesn't really tie in or is relevant to the Abrahamic.
Well, the only thing I would listen again, and this is just a conversation that has to happen because I feel like I have to talk about everything, and I can't pick and choose what I don't talk about. And
thank you,
because I think it's important to talk about everything, even though I do believe in Jesus, and it just makes me happy. It just gives me purpose. But when I get into like Hinduism, and so the reason I bring that up is because it sets up a timeline that has been going on for a very long time. India have been around for a very long time. Like my whole point is like, is there no God or is there a God? It's like, that's kind of what I'm asking you.
I believe if there was a God, he would make himself known to everybody. So there wouldn't be all these endless, never ending disputes about what God says. But I feel like anybody trying to speak for God is just trying to control other people. God said this. God said we're chosen. God said we have the Holy Land. God said you need to serve us. Like, really? But that's the dominant religion. Convince the world that they were that the one true God is the God that chose them.
So back in the day, you were a little upset with me because I was talking about the Jesuits a lot, and I believe in a lot of middle management people. This conversation has opened my eyes to a lot more. If you had to go to the very, very top, when you get into Khazarian, like, I don't know your thoughts on Khazarians or any of that stuff.
I think Khazarian, this is so important. I'm glad you brought that up because this is a huge disinformation thing, the Khazarian conspiracy, right? You hear it all the time. I've got the book somewhere right here. The 13th tribe. Did you know that the story of the Khazar king converting, do you know the earliest source and where that originated from?
No.
It came from a book called Kuzari that was written by a rabbi. And it's well known to be fake. It was a polemic. So he's writing a story, these fake letters back and forth with a Khazarian king, this rabbi, right, from Italy, I think it was. And the king goes like, oh, I want to convert to a religion. Should it be Christianity, Islam, or Judaism? And he selects Judaism. So this is like a fictional story to show that Judaism is the correct one true religion. But it didn't happen. This rabbi made it up. I've seen tons of stuff on it. It's well known that this is a fictional book. And that's where this whole Khazar conspiracy thing originates from, a rabbi's fictional story.
Okay. So your thoughts on the Vatican and what's going on with the Vatican? What role do they have in all this?
Mm-hmm. I think the first popes, they claim officially that the first pope was Peter, Saint Peter. There is a Secret Life of Jesus, a Jewish book called Todoth Yeshu, where the rabbis believe that they fast for Saint Peter. They have a fast day where they don't eat, honoring Saint Peter because he separated the Jesus movement away from Judaism and took it to the Gentiles and changed it to be more pagan so Jews would stay away from it because they have the Eucharist, they drink blood, they eat non-kosher food, they don't circumcise. These are all things that are anathema to Judaism. So if all the first popes were circumcised and were Jews and are promoting the Torah Messiah in Rome, in Edom, I feel like it's like the what's the term? Not the third rail, fifth column. It's almost like a religious. The ancient The ancient Judeans couldn't defeat Rome. They were occupied. They couldn't beat them on the battlefield. So instead, they went for theological warfare with a cult from within. And that cult in a few hundred years took over, conquered all the pagan gods. And now all of Rome is now imposing the Torah and the God of Israel on the rest of the Roman Empire in the world. So I think through religion, they conquered Rome and turned it into a Judeo-based system.
So as we wrap it up here, we got a couple more minutes. So what is your prediction on what's going to happen in the States? Whether it's about this new election or the next 10 years, what are your thoughts?
I hope I'm wrong, but if the end times Yahwehists get their way, it's going to be the fall, the collapse of America. What exactly that will look like, nuclear war, it could be as bad as nuclear war and America's done forever, or it could just be like, Italy still exists, but the Roman Empire doesn't exist. In the way that we know it, it doesn't exist anymore. Or just, what's known as the American Empire falls, like the World Economic Forum prediction. It said America won't be the sole superpower anymore because the BRICS countries, China, Russia, Iran, India, they're all going to rise up. They're going to get rid of the petrodollar. They're going to have their new currency. And America is going to be like hated around the world. I saw even just recently, Israel's so mad about Netanyahu about Biden criticizing them that they're talking about like leaving America and betraying America and siding with the East against them. So
do you think that has any chance of happening?
Yeah, I do think I definitely.
You think
see that
Israel
happening.
could leave America?
They'll open, like they already work behind our back, but I think they will like openly abandon us and turn against us. And it could even be possible that Trump gets in and he'll probably do a bunch for Israel, but he could say something against Israel. They could say he's the next Hitler leading anti-Semitic America and that he's turned on Israel and that he's anti-Semitic and he's having dinner with Kanye and Fuentes. That could be the narrative as well, that he turns on Israel and he's the villain. He's the Armilus of the end times prophecy. Armilus is the Antichrist figure in Judaism that comes from Rome.
Is there any scenario in which Israel no longer exists, in your opinion?
I don't think so. America will go down before Israel goes down. That's what I think.
So is there nobody in control of Israel? Is Israel the final boss of whatever video game we're playing right now?
I think so, yeah. I do think they're the top of the pyramid through the religions, and these religions started as mystery religions, like based on parables where the masses don't know the true meanings, but there's secret hidden meanings in the occult esoteric side of these religions. So I think people at the very, very top of all the three Abrahamic religions are probably like, in on this Abrahamic conspiracy.
So so you see so when we talk black cube, does that resonate at all? Does that mean anything? The Chronos, the black cube of Saturn worship, any of that? Is Satanism real? I mean, like this demonic worship that we see so prevalent in Hollywood. Does that mean anything, or is that a psyop as well?
My view on Satan is that he's God's controlled opposition. Especially in Judaism, they don't see Satan as like some evil force. They see him as like an angel that provides a divine purpose for God. In Judaism.
Okay.
Judaism's view of Satan is that he's God's angel and works for God. God created the light and the darkness. So he created even the evil in the world, and it's to tempt people to sin so that they can be accused of the sins. Satan in Judaism is like a heavenly prosecutor, a minister in the heavenly court that blames people. And they view Jesus in Christianity as satanic. That's the other part I forgot to mention. Esau and Edom, so the West in Christianity, in Kabbalah, they believe that represents Satan. The archangel of Esau and Edom is Samael, Satan. So they think we're all, satanic idol worshipers.
So this cabal of very powerful, at the head of Zionism, they see Jesus as we've seen But
as Satan, as a satanic anti-Messiah. But again, they view Satan as providing, even though he does some bad, he's providing a divine purpose, an ultimate good. So they hate Jesus, but they see the role that he played conquering the pagan world for the God of Israel. And the top rabbi in all of Judaism, Maimonides, says Christianity and Islam are God's divine plan to prepare the world for the Messianic age. And that's like the consensus Orthodox Jewish view as well on Christianity and Islam. I've got like an hour, 2 hour long compilation of rabbis explaining it.
Do you what's the final question I want to ask you is
I didn't finish the Satan part.
Okay, finish the Satan part.
So Satan is God's controlled opposition, and what he does is he scares people. If everything's the Satanists or the Luciferians, what does that do but scare people and herd people towards the God of Israel and towards Jesus as the answer? These people in the conspiracy movement's been dominated by Christians for the longest time. We're fighting the satanic globalist new world order, right? Alex Jones for decades has been saying this. They're fighting the satanic one world government, one world religion, but while advocating, in the name of fighting that, they're actually advocating for the Judeo, Jesus, Messiah, one world religion. See kind of how that works? In the name of fighting the Satanists, what they're actually doing is ushering in the Torah Judeo conspiracy for the one world Messiah.
Crazy times. I don't know how you exist in this world, man. Is it like, is it that Adam Green sees above it all? Or is he just like, what are you doing? Learning karate, shooting guns, buying gold? Like, how do you
reading lots of books and studying all the different perspective on these issues? And am I buying gold? Let me say, if Trump gets in and it looks like everything I'm saying is right, like I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. They don't carry this out. And I hope Trump destroys the deep state and puts Israel in its place or whatever. I hope that happens. But if not, if he gets in and it looks like it's heading where it's going, I'm heading for south of the equator, at least to avoid this war that they're all fanatical about happening. Way too many influential people around high level politics in America and in Israel that want this war for my comfort. I'll want to go get away for a few years until things seem a little have cooled down.
Well, it was the assassination of JFK, 9/11, all these things. Even like, there's a real discussion about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and what that represents. Like, is all this to lead us to where we are today?
I haven't looked into the Abraham murder at all. I don't know if JFK was like part of a grand conspiracy. I do think a good chance Mossad was involved, though, because he was trying to investigate their nuclear program. Meyer Lansky, yeah, the mob. In fact, one of the things that got released during Trump's term about JFK was some Cuban saying that like they're getting their weapons from the Jays. Is what I wish I still had that. I saw it when there was the big release of JFK stuff, and I haven't seen it for a few years. But I feel like they were likely involved with that. My friend wrote a book on that and did a documentary, The Frenchman. And also, Michael Collins Piper wrote Final Judgment about that as well, about the Mossad role in JFK.
B'nai B'rith, do you have any thoughts on that?
B'nai B'rith?
Yeah.
They're the parent company of ADL. And it means the children of the covenant, the children of the circumcision, the Brith.
Crazy times, bro. Adam, thank you for coming on.
Can I hear real quick? What do you think before you wrap it? Like, what do you think about the next 4 years? You think Trump's in? How do you think things are going to go down?
I think it's going to get really effing crazy, dude. I think it's going to get really effing crazy. And I don't know what that looks like. I think we're going to see some immigration riots coming up real quick, which is going to bring chaos. I do believe that they want martial law. And, it's like, again, like, Adam, I listen to you and the stuff you're saying. It resonates with me a lot. I am a religious and spiritual guy, but I listen to a lot of stuff you say. And, it's like when, I had good intentions when I talked about the Jesuits because I was like in this learning like I was just learning, dude. It's like, oh, here's a new guy and what their role and where they are. Trump's a Jesuit and all that stuff. And for me, dude, it's like this is all you're looking at this Marxism, and I just think they're all working for the same thing. And like you got this Boston mayor's like, should we really arrest people breaking the houses? Like it's all like pressure from above, pressure from below, and I think that's what they want. And like, do you get worried about these FEMA camps and what those represent? And you got all these anti-Semitism laws coming out. Like, does that make you nervous at all?
The anti-Semitism laws make me more nervous than FEMA camps because they're already happening. This IHRA definition that they're pushing on every institution worldwide is a huge deal. It's basically blasphemy laws where you can't criticize. And this is how they view. Have you heard of Amalek? That's their arch enemy of the Bible is Amalek, and they interpret that as anybody that has doubts in their Torah. Anybody that opposes them or is critical of them, they're Amalek.
Laws, is that what we're talking about right here? Is that what we're talking about?
Noahide laws tie into it a little bit. Either you're a Noahide or you're Amalek, basically. Yeah. So either you serve them, acknowledge their God and that they're God's chosen people, or you're Amalek. That is kind of the way they see it in the end times. You fall into two camps. But there's 3 of their 613 commandments from the Torah involve the destruction of Amalek in the end times, and Amalek and Edom are always conflated also, and ultimately will suffer the same end. So that's when I see these anti-Semitism laws, it's enforcing blasphemy where Amalek is being stamped out. And what do they always say? Oh, they're gonna shine a light on the darkness, right? They always use that phrase when it comes to anti-Semitism. Completely Kabbalistic, the divine sparks of light and the darkness of the Kelly pot, the shards of the vessels, which they say is the souls of the Gentile world.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty heavy, man. I appreciate you so much for having me on. I know you're Christian and got Christian friends, and this is a very controversial thing. This is why the opposition to Zionism and Judaism is so monopolized by Christianity that it's like, in my view, it's this false dialectic where both sides believe in the prophecies, both sides worship the same God, both sides are fighting over who the true King of the Jews is, who the true Messiah is. So it's like a limited debate, limited construct in the Abrahamic matrix.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Adam. It's always a pleasure. I tell people, there was just a kind of a brief moment where I felt like you were very not happy with me. And it became when the show got big and I just had a lot of people throwing criticism at me. And I've always said this about you, Adam, like you're very passionate on the internet, but when you meet you in person, you're like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And I'll say that always. It's like, you're a very nice guy. And everything everything's a process. And here we are at this moment. And maybe I'm just like a lot of people that feel like, okay, now we're kind of free to talk about this. And so I wanted, I'm glad we could get on, glad we could have this conversation. I'm glad, that you came on before and talked about it. And I think that's why my show still is popular. It's been around for a long time and still popular because things we talk about in the past end up being true. So thank you for coming on. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
KNOW.org. That's KNOW, like knowledge, _more_news on Twitter. And I stream on X, Rumble, and Odyssey. And I've never had a problem with you, Sam. I've always loved you. I've always followed you. I think you're hilarious. I love your show, even when you have guests on that disagree. But we have competing ideas on the internet. So if I hear stuff that I disagree with, I have to address it sometimes.
I understand. I don't get mad at that at all. Yeah. I feel like this is the internet and this is how we do. And I got a lot of people that take my stuff, clip it up, and make opinions on it. And that's just the gig, right? If I do it to people that I think are in Washington, I have to be okay with it done to me. And like, I am a guy who flunked first grade and had a crippling drug problem. And so I am not perfect. I'm a knuckle dragger in a lot of ways, but I'm open-minded to learn and love and all that stuff. And my whole thing is like, I just want people to be happy and live in peace. And we got these giant scumbags of all different fucking paradigms coming after us to take us down. And I just like to get the word out so people can, if you're never going to fix the problem. And we don't know if maybe this might even be above fixing, but I always have faith that there is a way to for the good to come out, but you'll never be able to fix the problem until you are able to talk about the problem. And if there's things you can't talk about, then the problem never gets solved, in my humble opinion. So, guys, we appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for listening, and enjoy these highlights. Thank you, guys. All right, real quick before we get to the highlights, I want to break down the episode again. Thank you, Adam Green, for coming on. Love the conversation. Really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. I have a better understanding of what Zionism is and what it involves. Again, I feel like I have to say, like, my belief in religion and all that stuff is still the same. I just have no desire to change. And I just have this thing where there's light and there's dark, and I understand you talked about that earlier. And again, I really do love the episode, and I appreciate it. And I think he has a lot of receipts for a lot of things. Much respect. This is not like, this is just me telling you my feelings right now. Is that I have been in the low vibrational, okay, still sometimes drifting into that. And I just have this thing where it's just when I do high vibrational things, and my faith and all that stuff kind of helps me with that. And if there is darkness, there is light in the duality. And some people can hijack that, make it these guys are light and these guys are dark. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I believe actions are light and dark. Vibrations are light and dark. Labeling things light and dark, well, that's just theater to me. For me, it's like, what is the truth? And the truth is that if you do high vibrational stuff, or what I call simple, prayers, helping others, all that stuff, that gets you closer to God. And the other way is low vibrational, which is, drugs, alcohol. And then if you go on a much larger scale globally, like just pain and suffering, stealing, raising people's anxieties, all that stuff, that to me is what we're up against. It is a battle of good versus evil. And there are people who are trying to make things happen for their own personal use. And for me, the whole thing about October 7th is that, if you're going to believe in the Bible and you're going to believe in all that stuff, which I respect and I do, and I'm early into my journey on that, that I would like to believe that none of this is going to be brought on by false flags. And we'll see. That's just my opinion. And I'm going to stick with that because that makes me want to be a better person. That makes me want to work harder, take care of my family, grow as spiritually as a person. And, we've had other people that wanted people to come on and talk about, was Jesus Julius Caesar and all that stuff. And maybe someday we'll have that conversation. But for me, I just want to say that I still have faith in my faith. And I do believe that we are battling psychopaths who want to bring the end of days to fulfill prophecies because they've dedicated their whole life to it. And it's not just one group of the Abrahams, but after this episode, I've come to believe that it's all of the fanatics at the highest levels that are trying, and not just of the Abrahamic religions, but of just seems like all of these people want to bring this on. They just want pain and suffering. That's what I believe. And, I just feel like the conversation had to be had today. They had to, with all the stuff going on with Trump, all the stuff going on with Alex Jones. And I just feel like we are battling Satanism, darkness. And, I did ask him about Satanism, and he had an interesting answer to it that I never thought about. And, the Talmud does talk about what they think happened to Jesus and all that. And, and it's interesting to me. It's interesting. And I see Jesus as love, and I think Jesus, we live in whatever this is, this realm, whatever it is, and I think it's ran by dark energy. And I think the teachings of Yeshua, okay, let's make sure the pronunciation is correct. Yeshua, yeah, I nailed that. Okay, is the instruction manual to get to the higher vibrations. That's what I believe. And it makes me want to be a better person. It makes me want to help other people. And that's it. And we are battling dark forces here. We're battling dark forces. And I believe we will win. And I believe the light will win. That's just my opinion. And you have older religions, older than all the Abrahamics, that talk about, cycles and, Kali Yugas and all that stuff. And that just start to say that, we're leaving the lowest density time and entering a higher density time. And I think there's just people that are trying their hardest to change that. And that's my opinion. And I'm going to stay with that. And that's all I really wanted to say about that. Again, very thankful that Adam came on. I expressed very early that my thoughts on Jesus was going to stay my thoughts on Jesus. And that just makes me want to be a better person. So go check out Adam. Check out all his stuff. He does deep dives. Got all the receipts. I just saw somebody that was on, where is this? Where we go? Hold on. Let me see this real quick. It was just on Elijah Schaefer. Yeah. Elijah Schaefer. I did his show, but he was talking about, again, the whole Hitler thing, that Hitler was, here it is. That Hitler was actually a good guy. I would love to see Alex Jones debate this guy Joel Davis X, who I have nothing against. I just have a different view on that whole thing. But I would love to see those two. I would love to have those two debate. That would be a fun debate. Because I do align with Adam on the whole story of what that was. The Holocaust happened. It was awful. Why did it happen? Who did it actually happen to? All that stuff is very interesting conversation. So that is my opinion. And real quick, if you can, go to SamTripoli.com. Check out all of my dates. I'm going to be in Hollywood tonight, Hollywood, California, Comedy Store. On the 11th, which is next week. And then Morris Plains. Then I'm in Broadbrook. And then July 21st to the 23rd, I'm in Kansas City at the Comedy Club. I'm very excited to be back there. If you go to SamTripoli.com, you got all my videos. All my videos are there. All of them. I upload Doom Scrolling, Tinfoil Hat, Broken Sim is all there. All my premium content. All my premium content that I do solo is going to SamTripoli.com. Only $8. Now, if you want to spend the $15 on Rockfin, because you get everybody, I respect. Hold on here. What is going on? I respect that. Okay. New episode, all my live shows, again, click there. New comedy, new Chaos Twins about to start production on the second episode. I'm very excited for that. Investment group, if you're looking to invest, patreon.com/cashdaddies. And finally, gold and silver, Wise Wolf, Life Technologies, Aquacure Hunger, Aquacure Hydrogen Brown Gas, Harley Ray. We love their crystals, love their candles. You got the promo codes right there. My favorite chemical-free body, all my supplements I get from there. My boy, Joel Staley, helping people get in shape. I got to get back to that. And again, we just added EMF Rocks. Use the promo code, get a discount. Do that all right there. And all the audio is there. All my stand-up specials, everything on SamTripoli.com. So thank you guys so much for that. And enjoy these highlights. Now enjoy the highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
Did you see Dave Smith went on Cuomo? And
Yeah,
they
and
brought
just-
up the thing we talked about a couple weeks ago about his view on treating COVID. And they kind of got into it a little bit.
Of course.
Much talk that they.
By the way, I just want to say, this is the whole reason why Patrick Bet David brought him on, is to be a punching bag.
Cuomo. You think so? Really?
This is why Patrick
That's
Bet-David.
generous to Patrick Bet-David. I'll say that. You're being very generous.
I think, but he decided to bring him on back with, in my humble opinion, I have no information, no inside information. But I basically, I think when he saw the reaction of Candace Owens lighting this dude up, and Candace Owens was at the Daily Wire at the time, he was like, oh, I get that guy, and we could just light him up all the time. Okay. And even though this went really well, and we're all huge fans of Dave Smith,
big fan,
right?
Yeah.
Love him, everything he's doing. I don't think this looks good because Cuomo should be in the same place as Don Lemon and Brian Seltzer, whatever his name is, and that is out of work and broke. They'll never be broke because they made so much money, but he shouldn't be working right now. When you looked at Brian Seltzer's numbers and you looked at Don Lemon's, why Don Lemon stopped the show? Because it was going to reveal that nobody's listening.
Yeah.
It's why you see big name stand-up comics stop doing podcasts when nobody tunes in.
Yeah, because you can only pay for so many fake downloads
until everyone figures it out.
Listen.
Do you know that Lady Gaga lost her YouTube channel because she was faking so many views?
There was a story I was going to pull a couple weeks ago. Reddit is getting sued by people who advertise with Reddit because they were faking. They've been accused of faking. You said you've had problem with ads. Like nobody, you don't get any traction off of ads.
Yeah,
they're faking. A lot of these places are just making up the numbers. They're faking.
I totally think that's. I think they do that with adding. It's so funny because the industry standard is Libsyn, and Libsyn totally got busted fudging numbers. And then, it's like on YouTube, they tell us our numbers are like nothing. And then I look at some people get huge numbers and we get around the same amount of comments.
Yeah.
So it's like crazy,
yeah, it
right?
Doesn't make any sense. Well, we'll have it where we'll have just as many comments as views on certain videos when we go live, which doesn't make any sense, really. So here's this.
Ivermectin is the way to go. Take it. Joe Rogan got better from ivermectin. And by the way, I don't like what people did to Joe Rogan about ivermectin. I don't like
You did it.
No.
Yes,
totally
you
right.
did.
Find the clips.
Dude, find the clips. You shamed Joe Rogan.
Find the
you
clips.
said he's taking horse
did.
dewormer. You and Don Lemon were chuckling at each other about it.
No.
I'll go find
First
the
of all,
clip.
you just saw the clips.
I watched
I'm
it.
not chuckling. I'm listening to Don. But
No. The
here's
clip
point.
I'm talking about wasn't on there, and it's absolutely there. Here, do we have it? Hold on. Let's play the clip.
Go ahead.
Injecting drugs for animals and horse.
And people telling them to. Oh, my God. What person? You talk about, cancel culture and who to shame. Ivermectin, a dewormer. Really?
They are shaming themselves.
That's what it is.
Shame them. They're shaming themselves.
So you're taking a dewormer right now.
This is
Chris, you can't apologize for that. You weren't being clear that it was this, and you know that, dude. You're being so dishonest right now, man.
I'm not being
You were
dishonest.
talking about ivermectin, the drug. You were not talking about this version of ivermectin. Come on,
Come on,
That's
man.
so good, man. That is so good. I'm so happy that Dave Smith went on there, and you could tell Cuomo was like, they're not going to pull that clip. They'll never pull that. They don't have that quick, because that's what they do on TV. They say, oh, find the clip. I never said it. That's what they do in debates because they know that nobody can pull clips up in debates, political debates. They say that all the time, like, I never said that. And then they know that they won't be able to prove it, and anybody who hears that, who's inclined to believe them, is going to believe them. Oh, fuck that guy forever.
Yeah.
But
my point is like, the reason I think even if this goes well, that Patrick Bet-David loses, it kind of blows up in his face because people are mad that you're even paying this guy.
Yeah.
Like he should be like scrambling the way Don Lemon is and the way Brian Seltzer is for being, and like, what is going on with Rachel Maddow? How does she still have a job on that dumpster fire called MSNBC? And how are so many fucking smart people still falling for this Trump shit? Both sides.
It's dumb, dude.
It's so crazy to me.
I wanted to talk to you about this. You finally saw Late Night with the Devil. You said you had, I was curious you said you had some niggles. What were they?
Some what?
Niggles.
Oh,
What were they?
I almost thought you just called me a re-nigger. That's what I thought you just did right there.
What were they?
There were some moments where it got
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat, tinfoil hat, tinfoil hat.